Somewhere on the surface of the globe, we all have a favourite patch that we call home. And I'd like to tell you about a funny thing that's kept on happening up here where I was born. We hope that it'll happen again. It's a global story in a way, and I'd like to show you where it all started. Narrow down the world then to Britain, then Wales, then South Wales. 30 miles up from the Bristol Channel to the remote end of 2 mining valleys where there's not much mining anymore. To a couple of small towns and a tiny village barely 2 miles apart. Tredegar, Rumney, Abertwysig. On the map, they form a triangle. And believe me, it's a snooker triangle. So many champions, both amateur and professional, of Wales and of the world, have come from that tiny area. Don't ask me why. Recently, I went back in the company of one who himself, at his first attempt, became world professional champion in 1979. He's a Welshman too, but he had the audacity to come not from our tiny triangle, but from the balk end of the table, so to speak, Llanelli down in West Wales. Anyway, come along with us. You may not be a snooker fan, but you'll meet some friendly and dedicated folk and a few quite famous faces too.
Right then, darling, you carry on exactly as I've shown you now. It's about time you made a move then, Jack, I think.
Yes. Don't forget your cue.
Oh, I mustn't forget that.
So this is where all the homework's done. Huh?
Yes, this is where I get all the hard work done, ready for the big tournaments.
Do you always use the same cue?
Oh, yes, I've had this for 7 or 8 years, this cue. Oh, same one always, yeah.
I hope it serves you well tonight with Doug Mountjoy.
Oh, yes, it'll be okay. Very nice, isn't it? Thank you, Archie. What did Reardon have? Morris Minor?
I'll be our guest.
Oh, after you, Jack.
Terry Griffiths, of course, was a familiar visitor to our neck of the woods long before he became world professional champion. Sometimes he won, and sometimes he lost. For that, as he would be the first to tell you, is the nature of the game. This time we thought we'd take him the long way round so that he might see something of the valley itself. And as we went along, I asked him a few questions, including inevitably the one about proficiency at snooker being the sign of a misspent youth.
I was put on probation once for breaking into a shed down in Stradey Park, of all things. It's only a little shed, there's nothing in there, it's just devilment. Yeah. And then, of course, when I took up the game of snooker at 14, it saved my youth, without a doubt. It took me off the streets and helped me a great deal.
That's great. We're coming near Stradey Park now, as a matter of fact.
Yes, there's a famous rugby ground. I used to play a bit of rugby in school myself.
Did you?
And never sort of going to Stradey Park or nothing, but I used to play in the schools locally, yes.
Scrum halfway?
No, I was a full-back, as a matter of fact, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Phil Bennett is in the same team, so I didn't have much to do, really, as a full-back in those days.
Now, I was reading the other day, somebody said that Wales has become the snooker centre of the world.
Oh, well, I don't know if Steve Davis would agree with that, and Cliff Thorburn.
Still, I'm sure they'd agree that the track record's pretty good, isn't it? What is it, 2 amateur world champions, 2 professional world champions in 5 years, including one T. Griffiths, Esquire?
Yes, that's right.
Tell me, when you first started, did you think that success would come like that?
Well, I never thought much about it, really. You know, I certainly didn't realise I'd win the championships so quickly, if at all, if ever. But, of course, it's very nice to win it so early.
Yes, in your first year, huh?
Yes, the first time.
How have you coped with fame in your life?
Well, with difficulty, I should think, you know, because I was thrown from just being an ordinary working man into a completely different situation. Yes. But it took a time, about a year, I think, to settle down in all ways. And
yeah. Of course, the material rewards are nice.
Oh, very nice, yes. Oh, yes. It makes a lot of it worthwhile, but it's not the... my aim's not, you know, financial, really. It's, you've got to, you know, aim, you know, for success in your sport. That's where my ambitions are.
Yes, because otherwise, if you concentrate only on money making, you're forgetting the...
Oh, yes, forgetting what you're really there for. It's not the money.
Right.
Of course, your father goes round with you sometimes.
Oh yes, my dad follows all the tournaments. He's very proud, of course. He really enjoys the snooker.
Yeah. Any regrets?
Well, my main regret really is that my mother didn't live to see me become the world champion, because she died, you know, quite a few years back, well long before I took up the profession. And I would like to have seen that, but still.
There you are.
It's also a very difficult game, and your form fluctuates so much that you can be a mug one day and a world champion the next.
And of course, the man you're going to play tonight, Doug Mountjoy. Doug's a good friend as well, indeed.
Oh yes, well I think Cliff and Doug and myself are very friendly. Of course, Ray has moved up to England quite a number of years ago, but we all played in the amateur game together, Doug, Ray, Cliff and myself. And always been quite friendly, though arch enemies on the table, of course.
I've often wondered why snooker has always flourished so much in the valleys.
Oh, it must be in the blood of us all, I think.
And there's our triangle spread before us. Rumney on our left, just a mile or so away, Abertwysig, never to be called a suburb of Rumney. Over the hills, and in due course we'll go there too, Tredegar. You know, Terry, it's hard to believe that in the early days some snob said, I have a quote here, "It's an excellent game," he said, "for navvies to play in their lunch hour or to be played in corduroys and clogs."
Some of us can afford shoes these days.
Anyway, someone else described it as like bowls, but played on a table instead of the floor.
I've seen some games that finished up on the floor, I think.
Yes, probably up the valley somewhere. But the real devil's kitchen of snooker was Tredegar.
From that triangle came Ray Reardon and, of course, Cliff Wilson, Doug Mountjoy, and quite a few others as well.
Well, there we have a confession to make, Terry. I came from Abertwysig.
You can't play snooker, though, can you?
The place is weighed down with cups and medals for darts, bowls, ambulance competitions, fishing, you name it, skittles, cards, dominoes.
And believe you me, snooker.
Up here they've known it all, poverty and plague and economic blight. And from it all has emerged a keen appreciation of what it is that makes life tick. At the drop of a hat, they'll organise a carnival or a jazz band contest. Or, best of all, a game of snooker.
Well, Abertwysig is a marvellous place. I've been there quite a number of times playing snooker. And people are asking me about the atmosphere of Sheffield, and I said that it's like the Abertwysig of home. I mean, when you go to Abertwysig and play, the people, you know all the people in the crowd then, it's always packed, the club, when you play there, the Abertwysig Workmen's Club. And of course, there's so many fine players there, and there's so many fine players in the audience, and you feel yourself that you can't hide any of your shots. If you do bad shots, I mean, they all know about it. Like I say, very hard competitive feeling always in the valleys, but always afterwards, I mean, win or lose, there's a sing-song upstairs, and I think Abertwysig is known throughout the world for this. I mean, the players of Abertwysig, Alwyn Lloyd and Des May, and Doug Mountjoy, of course, played there one time. and quite a number of others. But they put the village of Abertist on the map of Griffith. There's no doubt about that. It's tremendous.
16?
I think it was somewhere around 1969 when I went up to Abertist. And of course, it's world famous, that little village. Well, it's incredible, you know, I mean, we used to go away on matches, and I think the village went with us. Such was the support, you know, it was just incredible.
One. 8. 8. Doug Mountjoy. 1.
Good crowd in here tonight, isn't it?
Oh, marvellous crowd. You always get a marvellous crowd here at Abertist every time. It was playing a bit fast, I thought.
Yeah, I think it's a bit damp with the atmosphere, that's all it is.
Yeah, it could be. Can't get no reaction at all. I don't know what it is. You know, my long shots are way off.
We had a few breaks between us, but we'll have to have a big break after the interval, I think.
Yeah, well, let's hope anyway. Excite the crowd a bit.
Can't do it all the time, can we?
Well, we can try.
Some more practice we want, I think.
Well, I put in a bit of practice this year, you know. I'm really determined to do something, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a fanatic. I need to anyway. The way it goes.
A chip pan more than half full of oil or fat will bubble over when you add the chips and then catch fire. If this happens to you, first turn off the heat. Second, run a tea towel under a tap and wring it out till it's damp. Then place it over the flames. Finally, leave the pan alone until it's completely cooled down. Of course, if you don't overfill your chip pan, you won't have to do any of this. Fire. If you don't let it start, you won't have to stop it. Every week, a group of Danes meet at the Carlsberg Brewery. Every week they ask themselves the same, but nonetheless very important question. Is the lager they have brewed deserving of the Carlsberg name? Every week the same question. And every week the same answer. Carlsberg. Probably the best lager in the world.
Incredibly, my time machine had brought me into the 1980s. Just as I thought, an advanced room heater powered by smokeless coal. Its fiery heart concealed a back boiler from which an entire heating system was operating. And if I was not mistaken, running hot water, too. Eureka! Inspired by these miracles, I took out my pen and wrote, "The shape of things to come."
Thinking of a new bathroom or kitchen? We at Harlech Ceramics can design and fit everything for you. Call us on Bangor 53599.
For the very latest information, page the Oracle.
And while the professionals play and earn their just rewards, A man whom none other than Stevie Davis has called one of the world's greatest amateurs sits amongst his trophies. 3 times Welsh champion, 3 consecutive times world quarter finalist, holder of so many other honours, Alwyn Lloyd, typical of so many players in what we hope is our eternal triangle, who, though brilliant, for many different reasons, never left home to go to market. One of his best friends, himself a world champion, said of Alwyn, "He's a better player than I, but he needs a coach full of home supporters to win." Alwyn Lloyd is living proof of the training and experience players gained in the old Miners' Institute, now, like so many of its kind, derelict and in decay.
There is a snooker played on this table, Jack.
Yeah, great names, I expect.
Yes, Cliff Wilson, Reardon, and they tell me Joe Davis played on this table, but not down here. They took the table upstairs.
The great Joe Davis.
Yes, yes.
What happened?
Well, he played, he was the local big boy then, Bertie Norris. And Bertie beat him.
The legend goes, as it is in Aberystwyth today, that he was left the last red on, asked Joe Davis for a rubber chalk and cleared the board.
There was 6 of us picked to play him in 1945. And I had the good fortune of beating him, and very happy about it, of course. In 1947, I won the Welsh Junior Championship. I had a letter from Joe Davis congratulating me on being a Welsh champion and stated I was one of the 2 boys who would beat him when he toured the Remy Valley.
They snooker mad, yeah. They love their snooker and they really enjoy it. And that goes for a good many boys in the village.
They've had good training too.
Good training, yes, for sure. From up here. This is where it all started.
We would be allowed in as children and we used to be able to go up on the windows in the institute and watch the games being performed. In the beginning, there was only the mining industry, and of course there were no cinemas at all in Aberystwyth. So the only place you had to go was from about the age of 12 you was into the mining institute.
That's where we did spend most of our misspent youth, which most people think it was, but
Over now to Ebbw Vale, home of Mountjoy, known to all as Doug. My companion was the redoubtable Cliff Wilson, another brilliant player with an equal talent for poker-faced leg pulling.
Oh,
Hello, Doug.
Jack, nice to see you again.
Hello. Hello. Yeah. Yes, well, now we're going to do a bit of chat with your father here. Are you all right?
Can do some weeding, is it?
Do some weeding.
Yeah.
Now it looks great.
Oh, yes. I put a bit of work into it, Jack.
Doing all yourself.
A bit of work. Who done it for you? Not Terry Griffiths.
Well, I was talking to Cliff yesterday, Doug, about the history of billiards, plus a little bit of codswallop, of course. But I didn't know anything about the history of snooker until a few days ago. And I gathered it started in 1875 in a place called Jubal Port.
Jubal Port, is that the one? It's down by Neath somewhere.
No, I think you're wrong there, Cliff. It was a kind of Indian Army mess.
Oh.
And they used to play a game called Pyramids with 15 red balls. And the coloured balls were added gradually through the years by a man who called himself Sir Neville Chamberlain.
The same one that Hitler snookered him in 39.
No, you're wrong again, Cliff.
Now, some people think, mind, that snooker was invented and started in Tredegar by me and Ray Reardon. That's the fella. You got it. That's the bloke. What happened to him? Where did he go?
Emigrated.
Doug, all this talk is no good in this, but let's go and have a look at the billiard hall, is it?
Yeah, why not?
Ah, come on.
You said once friendly rivalry was unheard of then.
There was no such thing in Tredegar. It's better now. Times have changed. Jack, which one of us now is going to pay? Because he won't let us play for free, you know that, doesn't he?
It's terrific, Doug.
Not a bad little room there.
I asked Doug about his wonderful break during the World Championship 2 years ago. He lost that final, but thrilled the watching millions.
Well, you don't actually go out to make a break, Jack. You know, it is something that just happens. But obviously I was delighted. I think I showed that, my delight.
Yeah.
But you're only aware of it, really, around about the 70 mark. Then you sort of survey the scenery. You see that it is on, and then you get down to it.
Must be incredibly tense, you know, when you're moving towards the final bit, you know.
Well, this is it, you know. You try to get the correct frame of mind, and hopefully that'll put you through.
Well, you know, it grabbed all of us, I think. But going back in your early history, what grabbed you first about snooker?
Well, I started playing when I was 12. I think as soon as I picked up a cue, that was it. I really loved the game, you know. It was fabulous to me.
Cliff Wilson told me that you kind of completely dominated by snooker. You love it, you know, really part of your life. You know?
Well, either you're a snooker player or you're not, you know. I get paid for it, as everyone knows. But if I didn't get paid for it, I'd still be a snooker player.
Yeah. Now, you were a minor.
I was a minor, yeah. Yeah.
What did that feel like?
Well, I suppose there wasn't a lot of work around at the time, Jack, you know, and in the mines you went. My father was a miner, so as far as I was concerned, in the mines I was to go.
But when you've had 8 hours in the dark, you come out and you never see daylight sometimes in the winter. The magic of the old Lucania or the Institute must have been great. Huh?
No, it really gripped me.
Yeah.
There was no other game. Never has been. Just snooker.
Redoubtable, we said of Cliff, and that's the word. An earlier Hurricane Higgins said someone when he first burst upon the scene at the age of 17. Unfortunately, with no media, no television to record it. A player always prepared to bang the balls about rather than play for safety. A fast and deadly potter who, in front of capacity houses, destroyed player after player at Burroughs Hall. After 12 years as a steelworker who never touched a cue, in the mid-70s he returned to the scene in storybook fashion, captured the Welsh Championship and then the World Amateur Championship. Cliff, a man with a singularly developed gift for remaining unimpressed and a wondrous sense of humour.
I became pretty good. I was a champion at 50 in actual fact. So I needed 6 buns, hopefully then for a night's snooker. You could threepence, and of course you play for the table, as we used to call it.
Yeah.
So then I could stay on the table all night as long as I was good enough.
You've made a bit of money in these days, and you've got a couple of good cars, if not more, out there.
I've got 2 cars in actual fact, Jack. You know, they're biggish cars, which you need because it's all motorway driving. You know, you travel here, there, and everywhere. Some are like 40, 50,000 miles a year. So you need a reliable car.
So one could reasonably assume that you're a pretty well occupied and happy guy now.
Oh yes, I've got no grumbles at all.
Now, in the old days, Cliff, the town of Tredegar, speaking of snooker, was divided. There was you, and that man whose name you couldn't remember, Reardon.
Well, it was divided. Ray used to play in the Workmen's Institute, and I played in the Lucania. And if you walked into a pub where the Lucania boys drunk and you was a Ray Reardon fan, you'd be more likely to have something other than a pint. And vice versa, you know, the town really was split, and whenever we met in a match, the whole town, all the miners and whatever, had a bet one way or t'other.
You told me something once about the lighting in those halls, you know.
What lighting? That's the only way to answer that. What lighting? Because we had no electricity in the Lucania. It was all with gas mantles, and if they were cooking lunch on a Sunday afternoon, it was a bit dark, you'd be lucky to see the end of the table because the pressure would drop.
Now, you didn't touch a cue for 12 years. Why was that?
It was a combination of things. My father died, who pushed me a great deal in playing, and I met my present wife, and she preferred me to spend more time with her than in the billiard hall, and I prefer it myself. You do at 21, 22, you know. There is other things other than snooker at certain stages of your life.
Well, yes, but there's another reason, isn't there? Reardon left the district.
I think that is the basic reason. There was nothing left once he gone. It was great, the build-up for months. Are you going to beat him or you're not going to beat him? And when he left, it all fell apart after, yeah.
Of course, I completely misspent my youth. You had to do any good in this game.
What was that trouble with your eyes?
Yes, but there's nothing at all wrong with my memory. And in any case, snooker's not about eyesight. It's deep down, it's about guts.
By the way, Reardon's willing to play.
Where?
Well, as someone said that your early fights, you know, matches were the nearest thing snooker ever got to the bare-knuckle fist fight, he suggested the Red Ground, Tredegar.
Oh, that's a great place. They used to carry him down from up there.
Might have to do it again.
Yeah, open air snooker match. You know, that's magic, 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 magic.
Well, Ray, as the old song says, it's nice to see you back. We belong in the Working Men's Institute, Tredegar, where it all began.
Yes, home is home. This is where it all began. Of course, when I started, as a little boy, I shouldn't have been allowed in here, really.
Yeah.
But of course, my father was very instrumental in the minds with people like Tom Hughes, who I see is still about you today, actually.
Yeah.
And they used to turn their head away and let me come in on a Thursday afternoon for an hour, and when I was about 8 to 12, thereabouts. So.
Yeah. Well, we were both very talkative last night, let's be honest about it. I was wondering if...
Yes, so that wine was good, wasn't it, really?
if we'd be as talkative this morning, because I read somewhere, quote, that Reardon is notorious for his aversion to morning sessions.
That's only because of the progress of the game. I learned here in Tredegar, always at night. Well, it's unnatural to play in the mornings. Can't even see in the mornings, let alone anything else.
I think by temperament, you even said so, you are a night owl anyway.
Oh, yes, so are. It all happens at night, I suppose.
Yeah, well, you can relax because we're not...
It was nice if we could start the days and we to finish it, isn't it, really?
Yeah, we thought you'd like to greet and grace your old table because they've recovered it for you.
Yes, that's very kind of
you.
I will do that.
You brought your cue?
Yes. Oh, I got him. I got him hiding around the corner. Yeah?
Can I touch the magic wand?
Well, we have a saying in our life, you know, you can take my wife out, but you can't take my cue out.
Oh, well, I haven't met your wife yet.
Well, you can touch it. That's it. That's it.
Tell me, do you always use that one? Snooker players get very attached to their cues.
Yes, one a life, normally.
Yeah.
This is my second.
Yes.
My first day had 30 years.
Yeah.
Only got broken 2 years ago, actually.
So it is...
Haven't played well since, really.
No comment on that, right?
But I'm just beginning to shine now. This is why I've got into this new cue, or this new old cue.
Tell me, Ray, how old were you when you really knew that you had something for it, or it for you?
I was about 8 at the time, at home on a small table, 6 by 3. And of course, all the family played, you know, and they all came to the Institute here in Tredegar. And when I got up to about 10, they introduced me here also.
Well, you've done a tremendous amount to lift the image of the game. All the players I've spoken to always admit that. We all knew it anyway.
Well, it's a lovely game, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And there's certain standards that should be adhered to, and when you fall below those standards, then, well, the game suffers. This is the best way of practice in the morning, actually.
I don't like asking you to do trick shots, because I know you don't like being asked much about that.
You said he wasn't going to ask me either.
No, I might do. All right. Well, they say everything happens on the clock in Tredegar.
It is Tredegar, really. Good gracious.
Where did you go to school?
Georgetown, which is that way, sort of thing, behind this building line here.
And Wilson went there too, didn't he?
No, he went to Earl Street.
Oh,
which is the top end of town. Probably that's why you got your two factions, I suppose. I represented the Institute and Cliff represented the Lucanian aspect of it. Now that's where we all used to meet prior to the club on a Saturday night. And at 7:30, all the boys would get in, have a few games of, few pints of beer, a few games of darts. But I, instead of seeing them then at 7, I would go up to the Institute, 2 hours of snooker. Then I would meet them at around 9 or after to have a drink, and then go up to the Queen's Ballroom where we used to be interested in girls as well.
You spent youth all right?
Well, the girls or the snooker? Yes, that was fantastic, actually.
Do you know, actually, we are in a very historical part of the world here, you know, because when you think of it, shades of my Bevan and all that, just to think that there, I mean, regardless of politics, the Tredegar Medical Aid Society was formed, and that was the basis for the National Health Society. And, you know, I have to tell you something. Somebody in there told me that once when you were a kid, mine, that you actually went home on Friday night and you pinched the black, you know?
No, I couldn't believe that. No, I shouldn't think so.
No, I know that. And when I said this to you last night, I said, look, Ray, I said, nobody's accusing you of stealing a black. I said, what's a black worth?
Oh, 7?
And that's what you said.
Give it 7,
yeah. Anyway, it's quite a change, I should think, now living in Stoke-on-Trent after Tredegar.
Yes, a different environment altogether, isn't it, really? Potteries to the locals of Tredegar.
But I suppose that's handy for you in your game, you know.
Yes, we're slap bang in the middle of the country.
How many miles do you do a year?
On an average, within 8 months, we're looking at, what, 34, 35,000?
Yeah.
By car, without your plane trips, train trips.
But, of course, Stoke, therefore, is pretty well situated, isn't it? Middle, you know.
And it's got a good railway station direct to London and Manchester and Birmingham airports, of course.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's one part of your life which is very interesting to us all, I think, apart from snooker. You were a Bevan boy. You worked underground, didn't you?
Yes, I did 11 years in the mines. Started in Teatress here in Tredegar. Went down to Portchen. Trained as a Bevan boy at Oakdale.
Did you work actually on the face? Or
yes. Oh, actually, well, of course, in those days, it was stall work, horse and carts and oil lamps.
So you did your sweat then, didn't you?
Oh, I know, on bad ventilation.
Yeah.
I mean, today it's very mechanical.
And then the question that's been asked you 1,000 times, you were buried, weren't you?
I was buried when we moved to Stoke-on-Trent within 3 years.
What happened?
A collapse of roof, fall of rock, saved by a great big boulder which I couldn't break, and a girder fell across it, and I was trapped beneath it. I was there for 3 hours, and I got out quite unscarred, actually.
Yeah, but I suppose, you know, you had to keep your cool there, didn't you? I mean, if you panic...
Yes, a very traumatic experience, really. Yeah. It's one of those situations where in 99 against 1 you're not going to come out of it, actually.
Yeah.
Your blood pressure gets up, you can't breathe, you can't move a muscle, you can't twitch an eyebrow, you can't do anything.
Well, compared with that, you see, even playing in a final or at the Crucible...
Do you know what I did? I played thousands of games of marbles with my brother, who was 17 years my junior, just to concentrate on something, not to resist the pressures which were upon you.
Yeah.
And that did it, actually.
That was a terrible experience, I think. Anyway, after that, I think it was then, that you became a policeman.
That's right, yeah. Because I got married as well at the same time. And the wife didn't want me in the mines in any case. Not that I was going to go back.
Were you a kind policeman, Ray?
I did my job, yes, I would like to think so. I don't remember taking any juveniles, of course, for things they shouldn't be there for. I'd rather give them a clip across the ear and boot up the pants and tell their parents, and that seemed to suffice, actually.
Yeah. What we're going to do now, we're going to go to an old haunt of yours.
Oh, there's a few of those down here.
Well, this is a nice one, the Red Ground.
The Red Ground? Yeah. My word.
Well, it's a long jump from there, those days, to being world champion 6 times.
All my fighting I do on the billiard table these days, on the snooker table.
It's a wonderful record, though, right, isn't it?
Yes, I'm quite proud of it, actually.
Yes. I was talking to your old enemy, so to speak. Not real
adversary.
Yeah, Mr. Wilson.
Yes, indeed.
And, you know, he said something rather touching the other day. He said that, I said, why did you leave snooker for 12 years? He said, partly family troubles. And then his eyesight went. But he actually said, but he said when Reardon went away, he said, I don't know, the edge went.
I suppose so, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't miss him, actually. Yeah.
Well, he said once, he said Reardon left the district because of me.
Well, get a bit of peace and quiet, perhaps. He was the fastest player that's ever been, you know.
Was he? Yeah.
We talk about modern players today being fast, but no, Cliff was faster than anybody.
Yeah.
First sight, hit, bang, slap, wallop.
Yeah.
And then he went as well.
Yeah. You're writing a book now?
Yes, yes.
Well, I
It
suggest...
comes out at the end of the year.
Yeah. I suggest that you dedicate it to the Reverend Clifford Wilson.
Well, we may have to come back here to settle it out one of these days.
Well, oh, by the way, I told him that you'd suggested having a battle royal out of doors on the red ground.
Yes, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? Really?
And he said, he said...
On the table, of course.
Oh, yeah. He said an out-of-door snooker match. He said, it's magic, he said. So I don't know if it'll ever come off.
That.
But
It'd be nice. We must think about that.
That's it, mate.
I'd like to see that come about.
Because there will always be the quiet weekend away.
Queen Anne suite and dinner. And then there are the bar bills for your little celebration last night.
Michael, the car isn't big.
All right, Anna, all right, we'll get another one.
The better alternative.
Yes, that'll do nicely.
The impromptu lunch. There will always be the American Express card. Welcome around the world. And just around the corner.
American Express.
Oh, that'll do nicely.
To apply, take a form. The American Express card.
Gillette Bluetooth disposables. Seem better in two ways. One, they shave you closer. Thanks to these Gillette twin blades. And two, they're more comfortable because they cause fewer nicks.
Gillette Bluetooth disposables. They're 2 ways better. Could this be what you're looking for? The new 323 hatchback from Mazda. Versatile luggage space, passenger safety zone, aerodynamic styling. A powerful new overhead cam engine running on 2-star petrol. Front-wheel drive. Self-compensating rear suspension. Fully independent on all 4 wheels. The new Mazda 323. A hatchback to get excited about.
Why read The Guardian?
The reporting seems good and concise.
And even when it's reporting on matters that are serious, it does so with a certain amount, with wit.
The wit is usually provided by the ordinary reader in the letters section, actually.
It's quite conversational.
It's very good. The reviews of the arts are excellent.
I like reading it because it's extremely well written.
You know, you don't have to go to the AA for a route map. You've got all these headings.
I always go back to The Guardian. I think it's a marvellous newspaper.
10-foot round-edge worktops from £17.50. Sink units with stainless steel tops only £29.99. Handyland, Newport. Up to 50% discount on 3-piece suites in Draylon and Hyde. Full high Chesterfields from £799. Bed department now open with up to 40 models of top branded goods on display. At North Wales 3-piece Suite Centre, Chester Road, Buckley.
So we staged a match between the 2 old rivals. And not trusting Welsh weather, we planned it for indoors later on a Sunday afternoon. And we gave it a touch of razzmatazz, of the circus come to town. Something, as we said, quite easy to arrange in our carnival-minded triangle. But in the meantime, unbeknownst to anyone around, they had a private game, almost 1,500 feet above sea level. Having more or less told each of them that the other had suggested it, we felt it was the least we could do as a kind of tribute to the toughness of their earlier battles, evoking as they did shades of older times when prize fighters fought bare-knuckled on the mountains, to say nothing of pistols at dawn. Admittedly, elegant shoes and smart suiting detracted from such a rough, tough image. But then, nowadays, sartorial elegance is obligatory for snooker players.
One.
Things indeed were almost too sophisticated. Even the weather was benign. After months of savage autumn gales, for one solitary day in mid-October, the bleak winds died and the fierce Welsh rain just vanished. The weather, in short, if you'll excuse the pun, was as balmy as the idea itself. Terry, of course, was referee. Doug and Alwyn, without pistols, made worthy seconds.
Have you noticed his Griffiths are there?
Anyway, there they were. For 2 consecutive years, the world's champion snooker team. Ray and Doug and Terry, with Cliff as first reserve, playing away unobserved on a desolate hillside. Throughout the frame, the ponies never once looked up. Perhaps they were fans of Hurricane Higgins. Just the same, I think they knew the score, which, to be honest, by then was more than any of us did.
Reardon 104, Cliff Wilson 1. Foul stroke, 4, Cliff Wilson. Get up. Oh. Colourblind, you didn't know which one was the white and which was the red.
Ah, well, one more dissatisfied customer. What do you think of it so far?
Shake hands again, more than we've done in 20. Jesus Christ, you're dead. Go on, feel it on. Good God, you are. Take on a few extra points tonight, but...
There is a school of thought which maintains that too much fresh air is very bad for snooker players. It makes them restless, moody, desperate for their natural habitat. Mr. Toastmaster, introduce him.
Mr. Chairman and ladies and gentlemen, may I please introduce on my left 3 times Welsh amateur champion, world amateur champion for 1978, HTV and South Wales Echo champion for 1979, Mr. Cliff Wilson of Tredegar. Gentlemen, presented to you on my right, this time, Mr. Ray Reardon of Tredegar. The world professional champion for 1970, the world professional champion for 1973, the world professional champion for 1974. The world...
Excuse me, Mr. Toastmaster, I think we're keeping Mr. Wilson awake.
You continue. The world professional champion.
Keep going,
For 1975.
I beat him in the Christmas handicap in the Lucania in Tredegar.
His birthday on the 16th as well.
World professional champion for 1975, 1976, and 1978. And ladies and gentlemen, your referee this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, direct from Llanelli, the man who all female viewers wish to mother. The world professional champion at his first attempt in 1979, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Teddy Griffiths.
Put it down to too much oxygen inhaled by indoor plants who thrive by night. But when they came indoors once more, they seemed to suffer from a kind of folly, not of the depths, but of the heights.
Policeman's gloves, isn't it? Policeman's gloves.
Wilson, of course, had already started doing what he does so well, muttering, chattering, shattering the solemn silence that prevails in snooker, psyching his opponent.
Toss and we'll break.
When the break and we'll toss.
No.
Used to be like this 30 years ago, didn't it, really? The snooker behind the blue supposed to be.
You haven't improved a lot.
The records will show. Back to normal.
Reardon, of course, is a wily bird. Any man who can play mental marbles with his brother for 3 hours while buried underground is not easily bothered. Through the years, he has seen and heard it all.
This could be a long game.
One.
You going to night school, have you?
Seven.
Safety plate.
Seven for Cliff Wilson.
What the hell is this supposed to be?
They put that there in case you lost. We'll always stand together and be like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now,
Very Welsh tie, isn't it? So you've got your Welsh tie on again.
wish you wouldn't play when I'm talking. No problem, no problem. No problem.
One for Cliff Wilson.
No, the trouble here, they're too mean to buy bloody pockets for the tables.
One.
I can't see why they didn't pop this out next year.
Six.
Can't see the light, is it?
I think the memory's gone with the two of us.
I thought you'd gone home. You may as well go home the way you play it. One.
What's the scores, please, Ref?
That's great. Reardon 51, Cliff Wilson 11. Six, Cliff Wilson, foul stroke, 4 for Ray Reardon.
Did I get the snooker?
Ray Reardon 55, Cliff Wilson 16, the free ball. So, 1 or 6 is that?
That was a good shot, I think.
Eight. Nine.
Hang on a minute now. Hang on a second. You know, if you pot this, Tail have to take his shoes off because it's more than 10.
Nine for Ray Reardon.
Hang on a second. I don't like the referee here. Come here, you. I've had enough of this. Change. Give him the gloves.
You know, Mike. That's the right hand.
And I think you're better looking, Doug, as well.
Rubbish.
Supposed to say foul stroke for him.
Unlucky, Ray.
Thank you, Play should be continuous.
No foul.
2 to Cliff Wilson, foul, 7 to Mr. Reardon.
Oh, I was Dracula last week. Great, when he beat you 5-0. Clever, wasn't it?
5.
We'll all have a chorus after that frame. There's only one Stevie Davis.
Cliff Wilson 33, Reardon 74.
It may have been magnificent, as the French say, but it certainly wasn't war. In fact, according to those impeccable referees, Terry and Doug, it wasn't even snooker. Who cared? Snooker nowadays has come of age, and if occasionally it wants to let its hair down, we're better than up here where the game has long been worshipped. Let's just say that it was fun. After all, this time it was the Green Green Baize of home.